Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we talk to the cast of Game of Thrones.
The Walden army is only an army because of Mance. Without Mance, they lose their leader.
Plus, we hunt down monsters and monster hunters with a deeper look at Evolve.
And then we've got reviews of the PC puzzler, the Talos Principle, and Citizens of Earth. And so much more today on EP Daily, brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Marissa Roberto, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. Now here's my Hirsute co-host, Scott Jones.
Oh, Marissa, you with your sweet compliments. Thank you, milady. And listen, I'm glad you called today because I was in a deep, dark Game of Thrones hole once again.
Oh, you're not the only one, my friend. Game of Thrones rules, as I recently discovered when I met the cast.
Wait a second. You met Hodor?
Oh, well, no, I didn't meet Hodor, but I think you will be surprised with who I did meet.
So wait a second, you did or you didn't meet Hodor?
Welcome to the Iron Bank.
Melisandre is quite the Lady Macbeth. She's so stunning, but she's so methodical and she's so sexy, and I feel like you play that role so well. But what do you love most about her?
The fact that you cannot really pinpoint anything. It's hard to read her, and I think that's nice for people to be confused. And it's never really clear whether she's doing it for the greater good, whether she's doing it for her own sake, whether she's doing it because she's just sexual aroused or evil, just plain evil. And I like the fact that it's quite vague sometimes.
So do I. It makes it really interesting for me to play out when she suggests something or we're going to do something. I love, as an actor, trying to work out why, what's her motivation, all those things you mentioned. I like the confusing aspect of.
We have a lot of scenes where we have just looks to each other. And it's always interesting.
They're not always in the script, and when we're rehearsing, we can kind of shift a look at each other, and if it works in the right place, and we make suggestions to the director and stuff, and then, would this be useful here? And directors will say, look, we're going to cut over to you here on this, you need to be on her, what's she at? And that's one of the reasons I think the relationship and the show works so well, is that it's not always what's just written down is what we're playing. There's a lot of time what's being said is not what's being meant. And I think that's great for an audience as well. I think that's what they really respect about the show, is that it's not condescending and patronising.
The Walden army is only an army because of Mance. Without Mance, they lose their leader.
You're going to kill him?
I love Sam so much. I feel like he is the heart. He's this moral compass in the show. And I'm just wondering how you feel you relate to him.
I think Sam has got one of the very purest hearts and the purest souls on the whole show. And I think if Sam provides one thing in the whole panoply of the drama of Game of Thrones, it's an examination of what it's like to be in love. When he met Gilly, he was at such a low ebb in his life that he didn't really have a point to his existence anymore. He didn't really have a reason to live. He'd been ripped away from his family, and he was placed in a situation with people who despised him. And, you know, there's only so much pain a human heart can withstand, and yet he found this woman and he found her baby, and he accepted a responsibility that gave him a reason to survive. And I think that love can do that for people. Just when you think that nobody needs you and nobody wants you, all you need is one person to really need you and to really not be able to survive without you. And your life just gains some kind of meaning. And I think that's what's happened.
They held the gate.
So many people watch the show. I feel like the whole world watches the show. They have an HBO subscription because of the show, so they've kept up with it. Why do you think it's important that people also watch the show again and again on Blu-ray?
It shifts. That's the thing I love about it. I mean, Tyrion's journey is incredibly interesting. Daenerys, as a girl who's turning into a woman, and all the complexities she has with all these people she's freed. It doesn't end with the freedom. What are you going to do with your freedom?
Cersei.
Cersei's. That's going to get really interesting. What's coming up for her? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, we even said, well, what the hell do you think is going to happen with us? Well, like, it's.
There's this lovely couple going.
Yeah. I can't. 2.2 children in matching polo neck sweaters, perhaps. I think not.
Sam has come so far, but I feel like there's still so much yet to come for him. So what can you tell us about what is next for Sam?
So much does happen to Sam this year, actually. It'd be very cruel to put him through the kind of emotional turmoil that he was in season 4. I think season 4 was the emotional roller coaster that people only can withstand once in a lifetime. But what you see in Sam in season 5 is a whole new role for himself. We've seen how he can influence people. We've seen how he can influence Jon Snow. We've seen him do that so many times. Jon Snow gets an idea into his head and it's Sam who talks him round. But in season 5, what you get is Sam flexing those logic and rhetoric muscles a little bit more and maybe influencing people en masse and maybe on the surface of it, doing it for one reason, but deep down, Gilly's never far from his thoughts and maybe she's always at the back of his mind and maybe she's the real reason he does some of the things he does.
We've got more Game of Thrones for you soon, but first, a contest.
A contest? What? Can I win that?
Oh, no, you can't, but you can by heading to epn.tv. You have a chance to win all 4 seasons on Blu-ray.
You know, I love Game of Thrones so much, and I never loved anything on this show. But I love it because I feel like it's raised the bar forever on television for the amounts of nudity we can expect at a show.
Okay, well, I guess there's that. Leaving Westeros behind us. Up ahead, we've got the creators of Evolve with their thoughts on the game just before it went out the door.
There's nothing quite like a good Evolve session. The thing I enjoy most about this game is that there is so much variety within the different monsters you guys are unleashing amongst the people playing. Tell us about one of the newer monsters you guys are talking about.
We're showing Wraith, and she's very sneaky. She has less health and less armor than the other monsters, but that's okay because she's not designed to go toe-to-toe with the hunters and fight. Instead, she's meant to pick them apart one at a time. So she can abduct, pull people away from the group. She can spawn a decoy, and she'll go stealth, completely invisible, and she can flank and pounce people. She's very tricky to play against. When you're the hunter, you're like, where's she at? Where did she go? So she's a lot of fun. She's kind of hard to master, which is why she's the 3rd monster that you'll unlock in the game, but she's super rewarding to play. With Wraith, we started with a theme of teleporting, so she can just pop from place to place. We start with that, and then we started to think of what other abilities would go with that, and it wound up being sneaky things, you know, like I said, like spawning a decoy. And then that made us think of sirens calling in the group of hunters to their doom. And then from there, it was like trying to make her monstery. We have some female form in there, but then we wanted to make her scary, so we gave her like praying mantis claws, and she's got snake tails and a little Medusa-ish. And so it just goes from concept artist to fiction writer to design, and everybody puts their own little flavor in there.
You guys are showing us a little bit of single player as well. How's that going to play out?
Yes, so you can play evacuation mode, which is kind of dynamic campaign. It changes all the time according to who wins and who loses. But you're able to play Wraith solo. You can play Kraken Goliath solo. I find that I like playing solo to practice, but evacuation mode sort of turns that into a story and makes it fun for solo as a separate solo experience as well. So every way that you can play the game, you can play solo, you can play co-op, you can play versus against each other. It works for everybody.
Oh man, I love Evolve. Now I can be a monster in my real life and in my virtual life.
Fire bad, Frankenstein. Fire bad. We'll be right back.
Seek me in my temple, if you are worthy.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Earthbound was one of the coolest games for the SNES, so jumping into a brand new game spoofing Earthbound, where you get to play as the vice president of the world, seemed like a good way to spend a weekend. What am I talking about? Marissa and I explain in today's first Review on the Run. Atlas is doing something a little bit different with its latest RPG. They're definitely borrowing from a lot of JRPG elements, but this is new. It's called Citizens of Earth, and in this one, you play the Vice President of Earth. You're running around getting into fights and soliciting help for your party and pleasing the voters out there.
And she'll help you too, and then your brother comes along and he's supportive of you as well, so they join your party. And what you do is you go around the town fighting off protesters. That's just the beginning.
Why me?
And let me tell you, it sucked me right in. The humor in this game is on point. It's not only that, but it's the art style as well. There's something very charming about this game.
Yeah, it looks like they use kind of like a flash animation kind of style, analogous to a lot of the sort of current flash animation type games that we're playing on websites and on mobile and stuff like that.
It's true, yeah. We're playing this on Steam, but you can also pick up this game on your 3DS and your Vita. I mean, it's available on so many different platforms, which I'm so excited about. And it's only $15, which is another big excitement because this game is going to give you hours and hours of fun. I'm gushing about it already, and I'm just really excited because of one very specific reason, and it reminds me a lot of Pokemon.
What is the collecting all of the different characters?
Well, you can collect 40 different characters.
Yeah.
You switch them out in your party, and then instead of bringing them to a little farm like I do in Pokemon to have them level up, you can actually bring them to school, and your characters will level up in school, and they're not part of your party. They'll just go on with their lives. They're gonna go to their jobs and do the work that they need to do at their jobs, and their skills level up as well. If you're a baker, he's gonna bake better things for your party. It's amazing. There's so much to do in this game and so many different elements that add to your gameplay.
It looks like it's going to be a really simple game, and it is simple to play, but there's actually quite a bit of depth. There's lots of environments to roam and explore, and there's lots of enemy types to kind of get into conflict with. It's not just all of this super cutesy kind of take on real life politics or anything like that.
Yeah.
It does get into some sort of fantasy type elements. You're going underwater, you're riding in different creatures and things. It's a crazy hodgepodge, but I think you're right. There's enough personality here.
Watch out!
You're grounded!
You got this!
I wasn't laughing my butt off, but I did enjoy it, and I did appreciate the efforts to be original. And I like that you've got a conspiracy guy that's saying there's something in the coffee, man.
They contaminated the coffee. Can't you taste it?
And then you fight a Java bean later on, and the Java bean says, yeah, there's something in the coffee.
I know, it's so much fun. You can actually recruit all of these characters to your party. They won't join right away, but if you work them, they might come along. I'm just so excited about this game. I can't wait for you all to play it. What are you giving this game?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's a solid title.
It's a 9 from me.
Ooh.
Oh man, I love funny games, but they're pretty rare, about as rare as a good Michael Bay movie. Yep.
Yeah, that would be pretty rare, but let's forget about all the explosions for a second. Let's flex our brain muscles, shall we?
What do you mean by let's? I'm not in this next review. Here's Marissa and Victor, and not me, with the Talos Principle.
If you fancy yourself a puzzle solver or perhaps even a Portal fan, you might want to take a look at a game called the Talos Principle. Now, this is a game that we played on the PC. It's really interesting because they're playing with themes of God and like a higher being, but also maybe the higher being isn't what you may think it is.
Behold, child, you are risen from the dust, and you walk in my garden.
You play basically a robot kid who's discovering little chunks and pieces of memory. You also see echoes of other robot kids running through the environment, and you hear voice recordings and stuff like that.
Seek me in my temple, if you are worthy.
You know, I had a good time, but it never escapes the shadow of Portal, which I think is one of the only issues with the game.
Well, no, and that's what really dampened my experience with it, only because it didn't have the charm of Portal.
No, the humor of it, yeah.
Or the humor of Portal. So we have these puzzles, though, that are actually pretty interesting and a lot of fun to try to solve.
Yeah.
But then the other side to it is you don't really need to follow the story if you don't want to. You can just play the puzzles, which is great because sometimes maybe I just want to jump in and solve a puzzle or two and not have to worry too much about, is this guy really a god or is he just messing with me? Like, I don't need to wrap my head around that. I could just jump in and have a good time with it. But I like that because it's making me think.
It does make you think, and you are scratching your head trying to uncover the puzzle within the puzzle. You know, a lot of love and effort was put into the production of this title to give you lots of layers of enjoyment, and I applaud the development team. I think they did a really good job. It's tough to one-up what the Valve team has done with Portal.
No, but you're going to have the comparison
You are, right?
with a game like this,
But they've done a pretty commendable job, you know?
They really have.
I didn't like this as much as Portal.
No.
But I still had a very good time with it, and I think it's absolutely worth your time.
And I would really love, though, to play this game on my iPad. This would be a great iPad game for me. Just anything puzzle related, I absolutely love on that device. So
wouldn't look as beautiful as it does on a PC, though.
It wouldn't, but it'd
still be fun.
iPad still has some power, so it'll be okay.
Yeah, no, and it does look absolutely beautiful in the ultra settings. This is a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
What are you giving the Talos Principle?
It gets a 7.
It gets an 8 from me. I really dug this.
I must say, Vic and I did a stellar job with that review.
You know, will I ever get to review anything on this show again? My bag of threes is practically bursting. It's so full.
Okay, just relax, Jones. You will get to unleash your bag of threes after this.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Evolve is one of the first big AAA games of 2015. It's already out in game stores, but is it worthy of being in your game collection? Scott and I tracked down the answer to that in our next review. It was one of the most heavily hyped games of 2014. It is finally here. We're talking about Turtle Rock's Evolve. Is it the evolution of video games and multiplayer gaming like we were promised, like we hoped? What did you think, my friend Scott Jones?
One thing that I was promised that I didn't get in this package, and this is an impressive package, make no mistake, here early 2015.
Talking about the game?
Yeah, Evolve.
Okay.
The single player isn't really a single player experience. I thought that there would be some story. I'm really not the guy to review this game because multiplayer is not my thing. Titanfall I admired, didn't play a lot of it. Same thing goes for Evolve. Once I realized there's no dedicated single-player experience here. What about from the multiplayer standpoint? What did you enjoy about this?
I think that there's a core, really super fun experience here, multiplayer-wise.
Tell everyone what it's about, though.
Well, basically, it's like Monster Hunter with a lot more precision, a lot more fast-paced kind of combat. You've got a class system set up, so you've got a support guy, you've got a medic, you've got an assault person, and you've got a tracker. And the tracker is an incredibly important part of this because you are, with some special capabilities, able to hunt these different types of monsters, and then you create a huge arena around them, and you drop some harpoons to kind of capture the monster, and then all four of the different classmates and squad mates try to bring that character down. Now, there are some different multiplayer modes in here as well, which you can play in single player with every character represented as an AI-controlled bot.
Boy, you're a big loser if you do that.
Well, it's still fun because it's all progression and you're building up the characters, and there's lots of unlocks, including lots of other characters within each class. But it is missing, definitely, just like Titanfall did a year ago, missing that cohesion, that sort of that emotional connection, that link to why you want to continue playing.
And if there's no story or very little story, it is hard to dedicate your heart to the experience. Like one of the big drawing cards here for Evolve is the fact that if you are the monster, and you can play either as one of the four characters hunting the monster or the monster itself, you can evolve literally over the course of the game, and your monster will change physically a little bit. He'll also gain new powers as he grows and grows more terrible. Mostly I've seen at this point, because it's only been a few days since it's been out. I've seen the Kraken mostly, but there are some other monsters.
There's a Wraith,
confront.
And there's a Goliath, and I'm sure there will be more, introduced.
Did you feel like a monster when you were the monster?
I did, but
I wanted to feel more monstery.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scale issue, right? You can't be pulled away too far from what's going on in the combat around you.
That's right. I never feel just ultimately terrifying as the monster.
You're not Godzilla.
No, you're like Mighty Joe Young, not quite King Kong.
Yeah, and it's still super fun wreaking havoc on all of these little ants, these little piss ants that are trying to take you down. It's definitely way more fun in multiplayer than single player. I am enjoying it. I don't find it as thrilling, though, as Titanfall.
The other problem here, the thing that irritates me, all the characters, the supportive characters in the game are so cliche, and they feel so underwritten, and they just seem like they weren't quite interesting enough to qualify as dwarves in the Hobbit movie, so now they get to fight this monster.
I love the robot, though. I love the robot that can take its head off and use it as a UAV. I think that's incredible.
I agree. All the other ones, though, completely forgettable. I wish that the world had more personality. I wish there was story here. I wish there was just more for me to care about. I love the concept of this. I just don't like the execution.
Yeah, it's good. It's not amazing.
It's good, not amazing.
What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
It's a 7.5 for me. Evolve is a huge game, and we're definitely going to be revisiting it when more DLC drops. And right now, though, we have to pull the show over for a stop. Marissa's got to get a few snacks, as she always does. We'll be right back with more EP Daily. If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. It is time now for our Twitter question of the day, my favorite part of the show. And today's question comes from Darren J. Kinsey. He is at Fonzie Batman. Very cool Twitter name there. How much DLC is too much DLC? He wants to know. I miss the days of paying once for a game. When's the last time you bought some DLC?
Oh, when's the last time I bought some DLC? Very good question. I don't like spending money on DLC, as you know.
Cheap.
I like to keep those purse strings tight. But I sometimes enjoy DLC. Honestly, I just miss the days when we had the cartridges, when I was plugging in my cartridge in my N64 and the whole game was there. There was no glitches, I didn't have to worry about patching anything later either. So I don't know, I don't really, like DLC is just something that I have to spend money on and I don't want to do that, obviously.
I feel like I've had some ups and downs with DLC over the years. I feel like sometimes I've bought DLC and I've been very pleased with it.
Yeah.
But other times I've bought DLC, in particular for DMC, Devil May Cry from a couple years ago, that felt a little thin and a little overpriced, and I think that's the problem sometimes. So where is it on the meter? Here's too much, here's none.
So a little bit is okay.
Kind of in the middle, but it really has to be meaningful, and it can't ever just be a cash grab, you know?
Hey, EP Daily is done for another day, but you can check out full episodes, extended interviews, previews, reviews, and everything else we do at epn.tv.
And listen, we've got more reviews coming to you tomorrow, including our look at Dying Light, a game that I think I get to review.
Thanks for watching.
See you then.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dragon Mania Legends, which you can play for free right now.
Is this a story that Dragon Ball fans are going to be familiar with, or did you guys create a brand new story?
It's a brand new story, but complements the original Dragon Ball story. Two villains named Towa and Mira are trying to manipulate history, and the main hero is summoned by Time Patrol Trunks to stop them. Shenron is also called upon to help you, and together you'll restore the timeline and history itself. The story borrows many elements from Dragon Ball Online, including Towa and Mira manipulating time, and Time Patrol Trunks trying to restore history with your help.